Hey everybody, welcome back to Escape Reality Star Wars Talk. I'm your host Caleb.
Hi, I'm Seth. I talk Star Wars with this man.
Running a little bit late, but not much. So let's just kind of get into what's going on with us lately this week. Firstly, because we'd like to just talk about our non-Star Wars interests for a little bit. Anything really going on with you?
Uh, con-
Continuing Cyberpunk?
Continuing Cyberpunk, both 2020 and my cleanup of 2077.
Mm-hmm.
I am still continuing my. I don't want to use the term crusade because I don't like the implications of that.
Yeah, they're not great.
Cleaning up the streets of Night City, I think, is a nicer way of putting it. And essentially, I've just been going into different sections of the city. I'm down to the last one.
Oh, okay.
I just need to go and clear out all the crime in that area, and then I should be good. And I'll try and see if I can get different endings.
So you're pretty much...
Yeah. Now in the 2020 game, I had a hilarious incident. So I decided to start giving them like side missions.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got like 4 missions. One of which is actually like, hey, Sky's character Cosmo, you're in a timer. You need to go assassinate the district attorney of Night City, and if you don't, the lady who hates you because you murdered her husband on accident is going to lobotomize you.
Oh. Okay.
But, alternatively, you know that woman you have a crush on? Well, she's in debt to the Valkyries. You can go and talk to them about that, try and resolve that. You can go and rob the Scotagalia family, so you can rob the mob. Or you guys can go and handle some cyber psychos.
Yeah.
They chose to go and deal with some cyber psychos because they were like, we have time. And this leads to the confluence of events of them, of Zero, Steve's character,
Mm-hmm.
getting shot in the chest with his own gun.
Oh, what you mentioned? Yeah.
Not Hume, god damn it.
Wrong game.
Wrong game. Core.
Yeah.
Deciding, I don't know what the range on my pistol is, and just chucking a piece of rebar at the psycho who is like posing like Batman on like a crane edge. You know the.
Yeah, I know that.
Look.
Yeah.
He manages to hit him with it around the side of the head, and then the guy fell off, hit the concrete, and died.
Oh. And died.
Yep.
Essentially what happened.
Yep. So then they got into a fight at a place called the Pit, where it's basically just here is the one area of the city where you can go and fight people and not be killed.
Oh.
It's the arena without murder.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of what I've been up to for the most part, apart from like work.
Okay. I mean, keep him busy, it sounds like, yeah. Acquisitions did had a interesting adventure.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, I can't say too much.
All right, we'll talk about it afterwards.
But they're in Baldur's Gate now for the campaign. That episode should come out pretty soon. Actually, it shouldn't be that far away, but it's on the Patreon. Nice little plug in there. And so that's a good way to watch it if you want to be up to date immediately. So they went to Baldur's Gate and they met some people from Baldur's Gate 3, caused a little chaos here and there. I think I told you some of what would happen.
Yeah.
So now they are going to deal with the consequences of what happened. But that's not this week. This week is Ravenloft game. So tomorrow is a Ravenloft game. So
I don't know if I'll be able to listen in on that one or not, but hey, we'll see.
yeah.
I do enjoy listening to them. Like,
Yeah, we've talked about it a few times. Yeah.
I think one of the other things we discussed was like, because I keep bringing this up, and eventually I will stop.
The
The
morality.
morality of like the different groups.
Mm-hmm.
Surprisingly, acquisitions is more towards lawful good than one would expect. I'm not sure what Ravenloft's deal is, but then again, it's Ravenloft.
Yeah. And then Grim Hollow you would think would be the worst, but is actually somehow slightly better than Ravenloft.
Yeah. And it's like, you can't, in Grim Hollow, it's like, we don't trust the police. And it's like, why? And it's like, I was one.
But yeah, the Baldur's Gate part of the acquisition, the first session of our Murder in Baldur's Gate adventure, as we're calling the current arc, because that's the adventure I'm using, is 2 weeks out for being public. So
Yeah.
Because it says the 27th is what I've got. So, but once again, if you want to watch now,
The current arc's names are Murder in Baldur's Gate, Death is Not the End,
and Curse of Strahd.
and Curse of Strahd, or the specific episode name for next week, I'm imagining is something like Welcome to Party City.
It's Festival of the Blazing Sun for real this time. Because I called the last one Festival of the Blazing Sun thinking we'd get to the Festival of the Blazing Sun.
Like, now we gotta go talk with some Vistani and learn.
We got to go explore the town a little bit because, but I was like, so this time I'm like, for real this time. Because they also had to wait for the 3 days to pass anyway. So it's like, and they were like, well, we'd rather explore than just sit around and wait for 3 days. So they decided to explore the town of Valaki.
I'm confused. Why do they need to wait 3 days?
Because the festival's not until 3 days
Oh,
from when they arrive.
Okay.
So at least that's how it's written, and that's what I'm playing with. I'm going as written.
I see.
You can play with that timeline a little bit, but I felt, one, it gives them a reason to check out the town more, which they've made some connections to people now. And so, they met some of the Vistani nearby. I feel like we can talk about this a little more, but not too much, because the episode is not out yet still. But for the Festival of the Blazing Sun one, because that actually comes out this week. That's actually, let's see. It's Wednesday that one comes out. So,
Alright.
So, I mean, pretty soon. So that's why I'm okay with talking a little bit more about it, but also I'm like keeping vague on the actual specifics. So they explored the town a bit, and so I like where it's going. We still want to do guests on that one though, because they want guest players on that one. Outside of that, last night I went downtown. That's why we didn't do Grim Hollow, because I was like, I want to do some stuff. So I went to our local art walk. And so that was fun. Had some tacos at a really good taco stand there last night. There were some good tacos. Had like an actual glass Coke that was like this tall.
Oh shit.
Since y'all couldn't see the bottom. Because they can't see the table, so they didn't see that I was hitting the table, and then...
So, speaking of, like, I had to remind Steve and Chris last night that there was no game, that we were taking a break.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they were like, oh, man, we were excited. I'm like, you guys do remember he told us, right?
It's alright.
I am glad that they were excited.
Yeah, that's a good sign. As a DM, I take that as a compliment that they were upset that I decided to take a break. Because they just were that excited. Yeah. But also, I also wanted to go to a friend's comedy show that they were doing. It was like a skit sort of thing where it's pre-script, like they were actually scripted comedy skits, not like a stand-up type stuff. Although they had a stand-up as like the pre-show. They had a guy doing stand-up. He was pretty funny. It was a really good show. They're doing another one tonight. They did 2 yesterday. They did an earlier one, and then they did the late show, which I went to the late show. Ran into some old friends from within the theater community, because they did it at the theater, like the local theater, the Joe Jefferson Playhouse. And so they did it there. And so I ran into some people that I knew from college that also were in that circle. that I haven't seen in a while, and so it was good. It was good getting to see people I haven't seen in a while, and also just getting to support my friends and what they do because they were really funny. They were really good. It was some of the skits that they did. They made fun of Ray Gun from the Olympics, the dancing routine, the Australian dance. You didn't hear
No.
about that? Oh.
I was too busy doing my job at work.
So they did breakdancing for the first time in the Olympics. Also, the last time that it will ever happen. um, and there was one. Her name was Ray Gun, and oh boy, it was bad. She did like kangaroo hops as part of it. I'll have to show you the clips.
Yeah.
It's and so of course we learned later on that like her husband was on the committee for like the breakdancing committee, which might have shown some nepotism in how she got there. And so it's a very funny story and incident altogether of like the whole process of how that happened. So yes, obviously skit worthy material.
The only thing that I heard about the Olympics, right,
Mhm.
was just that apparently French over in France, right?
Mhm.
So there's a bit of a crime problem when it comes to tourists and getting like
Oh, are you talking about the
pickpocketers.
muggings and how,
Yeah, and how it
Americans are not affected by the
Yeah.
same like European level of mugging? European muggings are a lot more polite compared to Americans.
and how, like, they didn't know what to do with it when the American.
Like, we're used to guns. That's kind of where you failed. We're used to being shot at. It's sad that that's why we were immune to your levels of mugging, but that's why.
Oh no, what are you gonna do? Stab me? I mean, I guess. No, not. Go home.
I want to go home and rethink my life.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, man. But yeah, so I mean, that's basically what I've been up to. I had a good time going to a comedy show. It was nice. It was nice getting out of the house because, if I'm really honest, I am always busy. You know this.
I know.
Oh, anybody who knows me knows this. I literally have such a schedule where I just have a. It's not quite a rut. It's not quite a rut, but it's essentially where I just have a routine that I never break out of. Sundays is always, Sundays are actually usually. Oh, Sundays is usually a D&D game or I'm filming something.
Mm-hmm.
Mondays is work, and then GTA stream. Tuesday I'm off, and that's usually the one day I probably could break out of my rut more often if I could break the routine if I really did anything about it on Tuesdays. But also Tuesdays are also a catch up on recording things for the channel day. Is what they've become. And then Wednesday is day job and record more stuff for the channel. Thursdays is do stuff in the Discord. That's usually our Discord hangout day. We didn't do it this week. Update on that. So My Little Pony is actually gonna be this week instead of this last Thursday, because she had D&D game. So we were just like,
I do apologize for like
for getting back to me so late on
Yeah.
whether or not we're gonna do Dark Souls.
Yeah. I was like,
That's okay. Zach didn't get back to me at all.
hey, also they're like, hey, I'm sorry, I got work today.
I mean, I knew you had work. That's why I was trying to do it earlier. But I mean, we also stayed up late to play Outlaws the day before. So
and that must have. We'll talk about that later.
yeah, we'll talk about Outlaws in a bit. And then and then Fridays are Grim Hollow and work day job.
You know,
So-
you would think that because I work part-time, I have more free time. But because
I mean, I only work 3 days a week on the day job, but like I said, I mean, you just heard my schedule. That's my schedule for the weeks. And then Saturday, I'm here. Hi.
Yeah. Like, I work less, but it's spread out over more days.
Yeah, I usually work a 6 hour shift each day, so I don't do full time. It's definitely part time. But also I have to be there at 5:45 in the morning.
Mm.
So really I work a little bit longer than 6 hours because
Yeah.
I usually get off at 12. So it's like like 6 and a
Yeah.
quarter.
For me, it's always like noon to like 5:30.
Yeah, so like the
5:30 to 10.
so like the mid or closing shift.
Yeah, and you know how I am with people. I don't talk that much, but for some reason I'm running the register.
And so and you're very straight to the point
Yeah.
too. So that's like yeah. I don't imagine so like I do the code switching where I have my retail voice. That's very like I can't imagine you having a retail voice.
You know, maybe one day just come in and see how that goes.
Like just observe, not actually approach
Yeah.
you, just observe like how you interact with customers because I can't imagine you having a retail like you know what I'm talking about where you have your regular voice but then you have your retail voice that you put on to be a little bit nice like you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, like there's no deception with me, for lack of a better term.
I wouldn't call it that though.
That's not what it
no
appeasement.
it's like it's a code switching thing though because you're going into a different environment and you know that you know in order to
like
not in order to make the customer happy they tend to prefer to hear a certain tone from the
Like,
employees but I don't imagine you having that. I can't imagine you having that. You probably do but I just can't imagine what it would sound
it's like hearing me make a dirty joke, even if I make one.
Like you did when we were playing Outlaws.
Yeah. You're not gonna catch it. You're gonna think it's just an objective statement.
Which I did.
Like, even with Kinsey and like her whole thing, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think that statement holds any water with you.
I was like, that's the joke. And you're like, yeah, I know. That's my joke with the joke. And so, yeah.
But because I don't make jokes like that commonly,
Often?
or ordinarily,
yeah, that's a good, yeah, that works.
Fuck me, why did I choose big words?
But no, I get what you're saying there.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, damn, okay, I didn't know Seth felt like that, and I'm like, yeah.
But yeah, so that's what we've been up to this week. Let's jump into. We got a couple pieces of Star Wars news. One sad. We'll get that one out of the way. James Earl Jones passed away. We'll get that out of the way now because there's a happier news after this. But
thank you for your work, James Earl
Jones. I think
killed 3 father figures in my life.
I think people in my generation, your generation, because you're slightly like
a little bit behind.
You're a little
not
bit
by much.
Not by much. I mean, even older generations. I think most generations can agree how much James Earl Jones impacted their childhoods, because I mean Mufasa, Vader, I forget the name of the character, but Sandlot. Those are the films that like a lot of people, and then of course people like my mom, Field of Dreams, and so like he had a major impact. And it wasn't just the iconic voice. The iconic voice, yeah, was part of it. But he really was really good at what he did as an actor. Not just providing a voice, but actually giving the emotional depth of those characters. I mean, you can't tell me you didn't feel it when Mufasa died.
No, because I'm not a fucking sociopath. Although I will say he passed away at 97.
It's not surprising, but it's
pretty good run.
It's not surprising. It just still sucks. Yeah. It's one of those cases of we figured it was going to happen eventually. We just wish it didn't.
Yeah.
And that's really like what a lot of people are dealing with that, because like obviously most of us as fans didn't know the man personally, so we have no like that level of attachment to him. But as fans, we still loved him for what, like, for all of the work he did. And so, shout out to him and all of his fantastic work and all of the feelings going towards the family that actually, his actual family and everything going on, because I can't imagine how rough it is for them. Turning to lighter news. In lighter news, Ewan McGregor got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Finally.
Yeah, I watched a clip of Hayden giving his speech for it, and it was really nice, but also funny because Hayden gave like a speech talking about how the first time they met on the set of episode 2, and he was like, "Yeah, I went to the set. We were both in Australia, and all I hear is this man saying my name in the happiest I've ever heard somebody say my name, and give me a hug, and like." I knew then.
It's this weirdo that's hugging me right now.
But no, but like it's like, and so he's like, I knew in that moment that Ewan McGregor was like a good person. I'm like, okay, and then he was like, and we connected as brothers, and then he cut off my arms and leg,
and then he fucked me
left
up.
me on a volcano. But to be fair, I deserve that, but. So like and he was like, but then he brought it back and was like, "I love you, brother," and it was very sweet, but also funny because and I think that's how you honor people. Sometimes it's
And then he cut off my arms and legs.
Oh, is that? Actually, we might take a break next week because I forgot about the con that's next week.
Oh.
Until Britt messaged me now because she's asked, because I told her I'd get who was it that's supposed to be there from Has-Been. Somebody from Has-Been's supposed to be there. I told her I'd get that. Yeah, it's if I can find his name. Oh, Bryce Pinkham, the one who plays
Oh, okay.
yeah. Brain Stolas, thank you. Names are slipping right now.
It's okay.
You're
getting old.
And also I was up till 1 last night, so
that probably didn't help.
So I need to get tickets for that. I'll probably do that when I get paid, because I do want to go. I think that'll be fun. That's the 21st and 22nd, so maybe we'll. Oh, I could do it tomorrow, or I could do it on the Sunday, because I think. Or if I do it, or we pre-record this next week.
Depending on what we got.
We can do that because it's just the Lego special.
Okay.
So. But anyways, that's the news going on.
Yeah.
And so, sad news, but also some happy news. It balanced out. As Thanos would say, as all things should not. Look, I'm trying to provide a little bit of humor in this situation.
Yeah, I know. I'm not helping much, am I?
I'm trying because it is sad. So I'm trying to keep y'all entertained. Anyways, let's get into today's topics. Let's start with the comics. We'll get to Outlaws last because there's probably a lot to talk about, and also it's furthest in the timeline.
Yep. Crash and burn.
I had to publicly make a retraction about last week, but only slightly. I only slightly retracted it. I only took a slight retraction because I still think for up until now my statement was correct.
Yeah.
So do we want to just jump into that?
Yeah, let's just jump into that.
So spoiler warnings for everything we're talking about.
When we last left off, Crash, notorious Corellian mercenary, teamed up with failure of a Nihil, Crick's Camerat.
Now he's dead.
Yep.
You cannot imagine how happy I am.
Watch them bring him back as a cyborg.
Oh my god, if they bring that man... Daniel? DJO? Can I call you Daniel? if you actually also Alyssa because
no.
also Alyssa Wong, Alyssa, can I call you Alyssa? Daniel or Alyssa, if y'all bring back Crick's camera I don't know actually what I'm gonna do, but if y'all bring back Crick's camera I will. My point will be made.
Your point will be made.
That he's Alex Krycek of Star Wars. If he comes back, I think I'm right and I win. But also I lose because Crick's camera came back. It's a win-lose situation.
It's a Pyrrhic victory for you.
It's a very Pyrrhic victory where I am logically correct, but then emotionally devastated.
One of the best things is just while reading the comic is like it being listing off the team members and it adds fed up. And Crash is like, all right, you can all say it.
And then they all just say what everybody's been thinking about this situation.
What the hell is wrong with you?
To be fair, Crash did know that he was a scumbag. That was not in doubt, and she never did truly trust him. The problem is, you really shouldn't have let him off the leash at all.
Yeah. He was in prison. All you had to do
was pull that trigger.
Was pull the trigger. You didn't even have to go through all this, and yet you chose to do it. But I guess he did technically get you across the occlusion zone. So he did keep his word in that aspect.
She also
By
got
accident.
Crash also got a Pyrrhic victory. Yeah. Corellia got kind of fucked up, but they got rid of the Nihil presence.
Yep.
Because that's where we start. We start with her digging up, trying to get the tree that was destroyed in the process, her family tree.
The seed of that tree, and my brain was like, Crash, that's not how trees work.
You mean it's not like Minecraft, where I just find a seedling and then make the next tree? No.
No. I'm like, Crash, that's not how the seeds of plants work either.
There probably, I mean, there probably
why.
would have been a seed there, but
not from that tree.
Yeah, which is why Mama Crash has it. She's like, oh, I already
did that.
I already got it.
And also the last Nihil out there being like, look, I don't even fucking care anymore.
He's like, look, I'm switching sides.
I'm done.
Switching sides. Essentially is what happened. And so, because he was like, I'm starting to see the downsides of being a Nihil.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of betrays each other. It's not great.
Somehow I'm the last one left here, which is not great either.
And, like, my buddy just got thrown to the wolves by Crix.
So, yeah.
Because Crix's plan. Crix has a concept of a plan.
Concept of a plan would be accurate.
Crix has a concept of a plan.
I'd go so far as to call it an inkling of a plan.
So Crix's concept of a plan is get onto the ship, and to basically increase the border of the occlusion zone again.
Yep.
This time encompassing Irem,
mm-hmm.
Which is a major power play.
There was also Ariadu as well. And I'm like, why would you do this?
Or sorry, Ariadu, yeah. But it was Irem that was the big one, right? Or was it Ariadu?
I think it was Ariadu. And I was like, you probably shouldn't do that.
Okay, maybe it was Ariadu. Is that where everybody else was? Now you made me think I was wrong, and I read it this morning.
Who knows?
I'm like, wait, am I wrong?
Maybe I am accidentally gaslighting you.
Am I wrong? It's okay if I'm wrong. I'm just like, my brain wants to say, because Ariadu does not seem like a place where most of our characters would just hang out. But I could be wrong.
No.
Oh yeah, it's Ariadu. Okay,
All right.
I am
cool.
wrong. I will admit that. But anyways, yeah, Zine. So it includes Ariadu. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm like, of all
so-
the places you could pick. Man.
So they increased the range around Ariadu, which is once again it's a big power play.
Mhm.
That is where a lot of people are, and it's also where I think Crix's plan is because Zine and Lulo are there.
Mm.
That I think that knowing Crix, that is probably his reasoning for doing it. Because he probably knew. He probably had some sources that told him.
He may have.
Because he had a lot of sources. That's the one thing.
Somehow.
That is the one thing I will give that man credit for, is how many insiders he had. He had insiders who had insiders, and then he threw those insiders of insiders away to be killed whenever the plans failed, like they did on that ship, on the Gaze Electric. And so he gets onto the Gaze, spreads and the plan is increase the range of the wall, so that way Markion takes notice.
Yep.
And is impressed, in theory.
In theory.
Which I think if it had been anybody other than Crix, Markion probably would have been impressed.
Yep. But it's Crix.
But it's Crix.
So first attempt to try to get onto the Gaze Electric, not that successful.
Well, I mean, it's successful. He gets on.
Yeah.
And he does indeed increase the wall. It's the getting off that.
The getting off.
So he calls for backup
Gaze
of
Electric.
Yeah. So Crash and crew go to save him, and then he leaves behind the informant,
Mm-hmm.
which then our Nihil buddy that's gonna switch sides later is like, my friend.
No.
And that's kind of part of his turning point is
fuck this kid.
Yeah, nobody likes Crix anymore. Like it is firmly established that Crix is gonna get kicked off the team officially.
Mm-hmm.
And so Crix is like, all right, now for phase 2 of my concept of a plan. And it's, now that I have Markion's attention, we're going to hijack a ship that's heading to the Gaze Electric.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to board it
Yep.
with Markion knowing we're coming this time.
Yep.
And then I'm going to throw a sticky grip bomb at him, essentially.
Yep.
And he's not going to be able to get it off fast enough. And he's going to go kablooey while you guys are charging in as a distraction on the rest of the Nihil.
So, Crix?
And the way I read this scene, and I told you, when I read this scene, it's basically like a cartoon where the dumb character comes up with a plan, explains their plan, and then you get the just silent crickets and the other characters going blink, blink, because it's so dumb. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. The
I got that.
they go. So, before they go off to hijack the ship, every member of Crash's crew is like, "Hey,
We need to have a
we
team
need to have a talk."
team meet without Crix.
Yep.
We'll tie him up so that way he can't.
And so they land for a brief moment on planet, and they go and they're like, "So, Crash, we're out. We're done.
Yeah,
We've had enough."
Like we've been with you up until this point, but like there's no way that this plan's gonna work, and also we just can't trust Crix,
That
which is really the break. Like that's the major break of it all, is that,
we love you, but this plan is insane.
and also Crix just backstabs anybody who helps him.
Yeah.
As we literally witnessed like less than a day ago when we watched what happened to that guy in the Gaze Electric.
And Crash is like, "I'm gonna do it anyway."
And so Mama Angwa is like, look, because she is informed about the Crash trying to find the seeds. She's like, look, our family is a family of nomads. So we move the tree. We plant a new tree all the time, and as part of that tradition, the head of the family keeps the seeds. It's your turn to be in charge of the seeds, which means you need to live.
Yep.
And that's, I think, the point where Crash kind of finally, that's the clicking point for her. Like, that's when everything just kind of comes together. But we don't get to see her reaction to that quite right away, because immediately Crix interrupts and is like, hey, my plan's working.
Yep.
Because Markion gave a phone call going, all right, come on over. You got my attention.
See how this goes.
And so, Crix and Crash still hijack the ship like planned.
Mm-hmm.
Except then Crash gets the double turn on Crix. Haha, how does it feel to be on the other end of that, Crix? Not good.
Crix, I'll fucking kill you.
The fact that he is so pissed about it.
Like,
That he is... you know where you lose an argument and then you just kind of have that argument in your head for the next couple hours?
yeah.
And you're like re-debating it, and you're like, well, I should have said this, or that is Crix for the next couple hours, because we just watch him simmer all the way up to Markion's door on the Keys Electric. And so he's going alone, and of course Markion has a bodyguard.
Yep.
But also, of course, Markion's like, yeah, you suck. You've really sunk really low. You're a little bitch.
I wanted to see how much of a failure you were.
And he's like, but I spread the wall. And he's like, yeah, that kind of just proves my point.
It's like any idiot can do that.
Yeah, you kind of just, you did it to impress me, which is the most pathetic part.
Anyhow, I'm going to leave now.
And so Crix is like, Kobe. And
Have you considered I'll use a human shield?
Have you considered bodyguards? The one who was standing in the room with you. And so bodyguard takes the hit and blows up, as Markion just goes, goodbye, bitch, essentially.
Later, loser.
Later, loser.
It's just...
And then Crix dies.
Yep.
In the explosion.
I'm assuming he's dead. I'm hoping for it.
I was about to say, are you? Before you finish that sentence, I was like, is Seth gonna say, I'm hoping for him to be alive, Justin?
Just to fuck with you. Look, whatever happens. I'm not in the writing room, okay?
Yeah.
But for real though, give Lula and Zeke.
They deserve some peace. Which, I mean, I'm behind on the Adventure mainline comics, but they're getting married because they got a wedding one-shot coming up.
Hell yeah.
So, we'll be getting to talk about that. We'll probably have to jump to catching up on the mainline, because I'm starting to feel like not knowing what's going on in the mainline Adventure comics is hurting us. Or at least it's going to be hurting us if we read the wedding before that. So, we'll probably readjust how I do the comics. Because normally I wait for the trade paperbacks to come out, but I think at this rate we need to catch it, especially because now mainline Star Wars is done, officially. Issue 50 came out this week.
Alright.
So, and I heard it was a good ending. Once again, I'm behind. And the Vader one is coming out within the next month. So Vader one's going to wrap up. And then they're doing like the next phase of Star Wars comics, which is post Return of the Jedi, because they're doing Insurgency, which we talked about. And so, a lot going on in the comic world. Speaking of, other one-shot we read this week, the Acolyte Kelnacca tie-in.
Yeah.
Less of a... So it's still a Kelnacca story, and you still learn about the character. But not as much as you would think, is my one gripe with it.
Yeah.
I like what they did. I like what they were doing. I understand. So, premise of the Kelnacca comic is it is bookended by being told as a story by one of his former apprentices who's dying, and
Of
old age.
Not because they're...
And it takes place reasonably a little bit before the acolyte happens, from what I understand of the timeline, and we get to see that, you know, yeah, because the apprentice and Kelnacca are both old enough to have been in the High Republic novels and stuff, and they talk about, and the apprentice talks about that there's some connections that are tied in, because they tie in the fact that the apprentice was there when Starlight Beacon fell, and that that's actually why they were assigned to Kelnacca, because their former master before Kelnacca died.
Yep.
They explain why Kelnacca has the tattoos, because this apprentice has them, and it's a sign of respect that they did, because they got the tattoos. It's part of their culture, and it's basically you put your mentor's name and you tattoo it to you as a sign of respect for this mentor. And so the apprentice did that for their former master, and their former master walked in on them getting the tattoo and was like, "Oh, well, I'm going to get a tattoo with your name, the apprentice's name, because the wise lesson that most teachers have, which is that you learn from your students as much as your students learn from you, is what, is being said there." And Kelnacca, also in honor, gets the apprentice's name eventually.
And
the thing
Kelnacca is a Wookiee of fewer words than even most Wookiees.
I was going to say, we learned that Kelnacca is very much the stoic... he's the example of the stoic Jedi that you think of generally when you think of Jedi, right? Mm-hmm. He's that stoic Jedi who speaks only when it's really important. And the things he says are sometimes vague, but they usually are important when he does.
Very much. Seeing this version of Kelnacca, it's very much like...
Because we didn't get a lot of Kelnacca, because Kelnacca died. Mm-hmm. So...
what you get from Kelnacca from this comic is they're very much the embodiment of, like, actions speak louder than words. Mm-hmm. Because I don't think Kelnacca says a single word throughout this entire...
I think he says, like, a couple things, but not a lot. Not enough, like, not... From what I remember, it's, like, a couple things. But for the most part, he's...
Yeah.
And so... I think it's interesting, and it's something that they say in the because at the end they have a little shout out to the actor who plays Kelnacca, who has been Chewbacca as well for a while.
Yeah.
And his work as, like, what he put into the character, and, like, how the writers for this comic, while they kind of came up with Kelnacca along with the Acolyte team, he also had a lot of input into who Kelnacca is as a character, and that managed to really come through in the comic, because we see the differences between Chewbacca as a Wookiee, but then we also see the differences even between the Wookiee Jedi examples we have, because you and I talked about it. Burryaga is the young Wookiee that's a little more brash and a little more willing to break the rules, right?
Yeah.
Master Arkoff, kind of in the middle of Burryaga and Kelnacca in style. Kelnacca is, like I said, he's very stoic, he's very traditional Jedi. Mm-hmm. He's very much a Mace Windu type.
Yeah.
And so then you have Arkoff, who's kind of in the middle, who will break the rules when he needs to, but tends to be more stoic and follow the rules most of the time. And so it is interesting to see three different types of Wookiees, Jedi. And then on top of that, they mention how, like, even the way Kelnacca walks is different than... Yeah. Because that like...
It's a lot more even-paced thinking about it than how Chewie walks. Chewie lumbers, I think, is the...
Yeah. And so I appreciate how much thought is put into that. And you can still even see that in the comic with Kelnacca. You see how Kelnacca walks even through these still images.
Kelnacca does not waste a lot of movement.
But he's not, like, he knows where he's going, but he's not ever, like, rushing either. Mm-hmm. He just has this... They use the word nobility to it, and I think that is correct. He has, like, a nobility to his stance. I think that's accurate. And then, so, back to the actual story. The apprentice telling this story to their apprentice, is basically saying, "Hey, I'm gonna die. That's just a natural process, and so somebody will take you in just like they did me." And it turns out it's Kelnacca who takes them in.
Yep.
And
which I suppose this means Kelnacca has had 2 successful apprentices at least.
yeah, because we don't know what happens to this new apprentice, but yeah, especially because it's so close to the events of the Acolyte.
Yeah.
So I am curious. But overall, I thought it was a good story. Should it have been called The Acolyte Kelnacca? That's where I'm more wary. But because you do learn a lot about Kelnacca.
Yeah.
But I like when you hear the name of the book, you think, oh, it's gonna be Kelnacca's perspective of things. But it's not. It's really more of an outsider perspective of how Kelnacca's viewed. I guess I'm fine with it at the end of the day being called Kelnacca because it is about Kelnacca still. It's just in a way that is not
Kelnacca subtitle The Acolyte.
But overall, I thought the story was really good.
Yeah, I don't have anything against it.
I'm gonna go back because we forgot to do ratings.
Okay.
So for Crash and Burn, I'm thinking a good, strong 7.5. It tells the story it needs to. Where are you thinking?
Well, because I think Crix Camerad's dead, I'll give it an 8.
You know what? Yeah, you know what? It gets an 8 just because they got rid of Crix finally. They finally got rid of Crix. But on a story, I think it was good. It told what it needed to. It's getting us to. I think we are starting to see the end game plans of everything slowly coming to fruition for the High Republic, and I'm excited for what's going on.
Now, for Kelnacca, I like my Wookiee Jedis a lot, but
not quite your favorite comic.
It's missing something.
Mm-hmm.
So, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to give it a 7.
I can agree with that, though. I think if anything, I wish this wasn't a one-shot.
Yeah.
Which is a compliment in a weird, like, I wish it wasn't a one-shot because I would like to see more context to what going forward they would have done with Kelnacca in between the events of this and Acolyte.
Yeah, because I don't quite see how this Kelnacca, even with the shit that goes down on the planet and the Acolyte, ends up in that way. But then again, I don't know. I've just seen so many, like, I guess in media, so many worse tragedies than that.
Yeah.
That I'm like, this isn't enough.
Like, I understand why Kelnacca went into...
Like,
because
the logical part understands, but the emotional part of me is like...
It hasn't connected, yeah.
Why?
I gotcha. All right. Let's get into Outlaws. I think we're going to be really careful here because... So we are going to have some light spoilers.
Nah.
But I don't want to go into the heavy stuff because the game is still very recent.
Okay.
I think we need to be careful just because, or at the very least, if we're gonna talk heavy spoilers, then I'll put this up. How about that?
I'm not showing any mercy.
Okay, because I think there's a couple things I know you want to talk about, and there's a couple things I would want to talk about, but I just want to, because the game's only a couple weeks, like it's only a couple weeks old, and so it is finding a new audience still, and the DLCs aren't even out yet.
That's true. The DLCs aren't out,
and it's finding a new audience. I'm actually so. Let's just talk about gameplay at least.
Yeah.
On a gameplay end. So, I'd say you barely touched it. I mean, you got I'd say past the what I call the first act, because whereas I've almost 100.
What you learned is Seth's version of stealth is a very liberally applied definition.
But you got past the first act essentially, because I would say all the Toshara stuff is just the first act. When you like first get on Toshara and you do all that, because like, and I think you find because when you did the tutorial, I said I don't think that's enough to understand the gameplay. Would you agree with that statement after playing Toshara stuff as well?
I think
because you don't get speeder gameplay, you don't get any space gameplay, and the only thing you get to play with is stealth and and fighting combat. That's really the only things you learn about within the tutorial, which is Kanto.
Yeah.
But when you get to Toshara, then you start to get to see the actual pieces of the game, that the deeper parts of like how this open world works. You get the reputation system. You get the, which even that you barely. I mean, even that you barely got to touch.
Time.
Yeah, because time. I mean, it
We
took.
had to talk about it this Saturday.
Yeah. We didn't.
Today, I mean.
Yeah, like we didn't have to. I could have pushed it back if you wanted to play more, but you said you would just watch the videos for the story content.
Yeah. Man, I do actually wish I had more time with that game because it very much...
It started to appeal to you?
Yeah. I was like, if I had more time to like go off and do stuff on the side, this would be really fun. But unfortunately...
We were in a rush. Because every time you would go somewhere, I'm like... I wouldn't bully you about it, but I would be like... You were the one that said just the story.
Yeah.
Because you did like one thing to the side, I think.
Yeah.
I think we did do one thing. And so...
We did play Outlaws version of Sabak.
Yeah, you played Sabak, which honestly, the new Sabak is not that different from regular Sabak. The only difference is they added chips.
Mm-hmm.
They basically added chips as a way to like inform you of when you lost the game entirely.
Yeah.
And then you got your money or whatever if you won. You did not win your game.
No, I didn't. I had fun anyway, though.
Did you? I walked away to get some drinks while he played it. Did you cheat?
No.
Okay. The cheating system's okay. It's you. There's a few things. So there's 2 of them I've unlocked, and then there's one more I haven't unlocked yet. So the first one is the next one. You get that one automatically. That one is you hold at the start of your turn. You hold the up on the D-pad, and that activates it. And then Nyx walks around, like goes over everybody's shoulders to look at the cards for you.
Yeah.
And it's a little quick time event where it's a little circle that's enclosing, and you have to hit triangle when it is in the right part of the circle. So it's like there's a big circle, and then there's like a gray circle, and then you have the moving circle that when it's in the gray circle, you have to hit triangle. If you miss, you get caught, and they become wary of you being cheating because they're like, okay, your pet was over our shoulder, but maybe that's nothing.
Yeah.
But if you do that multiple times, they will kick you from a table, and they will even ban you from a table for a limited time.
Yeah.
If you get caught too many times. I have not been banned from a table. I have not been kicked from a table, but I have been caught to the point of them being wary. Mainly because once I get to the wary state, I'll be like, okay, no cheating for the rest of the game. I'm just gonna.
Yep.
The other system that I've unlocked is picking up 2 cards at the same time when you draw. And it's a little it's a little mini game. This one is you have to slowly, there's like a countdown on it, and there's like a moving like card.
Yeah.
And there's like a little sweet spot, and you got to move the moving card into the sweet spot and keep it there. So you have to keep moving the controller, so that way, because the card is still continuously moving, so you have to keep fighting that to stay in the sweet spot for long enough, and then you can draw 2 cards, and then you can look at them, you can swap them with the card you want to keep, and then you can, if you're really, and then and then of course you got to discard both cards, which you don't have to do a mini game for the discard part. Thank God.
Yeah. Oh, one of the funniest moments of like, I can't imagine how stressful just watching me play this game was for you.
Okay, go ahead.
Because how the interactions would be like, there's 4 guys in one room. I need to go and take out at least 3 of them to get to the other side. Go. Alright, have Nyx distract him. Unconscious. Go get the next one. Hey, what are you doing over here? And you're like, you should probably go take care of that guy. I'm like, don't worry about it, it's fine. Take him out. Bang, 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 bang. Bang, bang, bang. See? Look, no alarms. Perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Also, I suck at parkour.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
You were
not
learning it, though.
terrible
You
at
got
it.
there.
Just the one outside the mansion specifically.
Yeah.
I'll jump off the side of ladders.
Yeah, yeah, because, like, I'm like, why are you jumping off like, and it's like that, it's that gut feeling where, like, where you're watching something, and you feel the G forces with the thing, even though you're not actually there. That happened. I experienced that when you jumped that ladder.
What else? Oh yeah, me just looking at the rhythm game for the data spike and being like, I can't do this, and just turning it off.
Well, because what would happen is you would do, so the pattern, it was the easiest pattern the game gives you. It was the dun dun, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it just goes dun dun, and so all you have to do is go dun dun and watch the light and do it, right? What you would do is you would hit the first dun, and then you would let the second dun go without doing it, and I would be like, you have to hit both of them, and then you would do it again, and I was like, no, you have to hit both, and then eventually you're like, I showed you it, and you were like, oh, and you're like, I'm just turning that off because I learned that there.
Yeah, there's some. You can go into the menu and you just cut it off.
And that is one of the things I appreciate about this game is how much options are in it. Because you can do that. You can also change the puzzle for the slicing, for actual slicing, not the data spikes. That was the data spikes. But for slicing, you can change it to, instead of patterns, it's numbers.
Yeah.
And then
that one I was actually decent at.
That's because it's more of a just getting lucky guessing game, and understanding the pattern of where you just need to know, okay, that one's yellow, so I need to move it. Like, that is the correct number. I just need to put it somewhere else because it's Wordle. And then
a game that I refuse to play.
Even though you would actually you would understand it and know it because it's the Fallout hacking. It's the Fallout computer hacking game. Except you have to guess the word by the letter and not the word by the whole word. And then also you had the option to see the yellow line, like the climbable stuff, what's climbable.
Yeah, I turned that on because I was like, otherwise I'm just going to think it's another part of the environment. Because the environments are very nice.
Yeah, that's something that we talked about, because one of the biggest things that is such a misnomer that people who hated on this game immediately were saying that is a lie, is that, it looks like PS3 graphics.
And to that statement, I'll say it's as good as or better.
I'd say it's just better. Like, it's not even as good as. I'd say it's better. Like, I don't know. It's so weird.
For context, most of the time I will play on later generation consoles.
Yeah, most of the time you're playing
PS.
Yeah, most of the time you're playing a PS3 or PS4. So I'd say you're a better judge in terms of like remembering what a PS3 game looks like. Because I feel like anybody that says that Outlaws looks like a PS3 game either was not born in a time to play PS3 games, or just has very strong nostalgia glasses towards what a PS3 game looked like. Hell, looking at GTA 5 alone from PS3 to PS4,
a little bit of a difference.
I went back to PS3 one time, and I was like, how did I play this game on PS3?
With fucking magic.
Because it's like, I don't see what the word... Like, I can't even read the words on the PS3, like, the PS3 version. I'm like, what does that say? Like, how did I play this?
Meanwhile, for me, reading words is a requirement on all of the games I play.
Because you have them on, like, 5.
And there are times when I'm playing games where I'm like, I don't know if I'm hearing things from
the game
or from memory.
Mm-hmm. And so I, so I'd say gameplay wise, I like the gameplay. I think it's a good. It's not groundbreaking. Like there's no this, but the game's not trying to be. That's the other thing. I don't realistically. I'm just gonna say what I think of the game right now. I'm gonna give my rating, and we can talk about story stuff in a bit. But it's a strong 7 to 8. It's a 7 if you're not a Star Wars fan. If you don't care about some of the Star Wars moments in this game that are very Star Warsy, if you don't care about that and you don't care about exploring the Star Wars galaxy as much, you just wanted a game. It's a 7 because the gameplay, it's not doing anything new. Like it's not doing much new. It's kind of amalgamations of things that have existed in gaming and putting them into a system that uses a bunch of them at once. And I think it does it very well, but it's not groundbreaking. But also, the game is still fun, which is why it's a 7. Because everybody kind of forgets that a 7 is like a standard. It's a standard game.
Yeah.
It does not mean it's bad.
If I didn't like it, I'd give it a 3.
Yeah, or I'd say even a 6 if it was failing more and more at certain things. I will say the character models can look weird sometimes. I'll say that, and that's not because of the whole people are saying, well, why'd they make the character look different than the model who plays Kay? Because they had already modeled the character before they got the actress who plays Kay. Like we had previews of the game before they casted Kay with who they used, and she was really more for the mocap and like for movement mocap, not for facial mocap, and for the voice. That's what she was hired for. She was not hired to be a lookalike. And you can even see actually they did kind of blend in some of the stuff, like because if you look at the early footage versus now, you can see they kind of tried to meet in the middle of having an original looking character as well as looking like the actor. There's kind of a middle ground there, and she's the first to say, no, they weren't trying to look like me to begin with, because I got hired later. Because people...
Don't worry, Carl Kestis can't hurt you.
But, yeah. Whereas, like, Cal Kestis is different. They had him in mind from the beginning, and they modeled it after him because that's just the type of game they were going for. But
sorry, I'm just...
Yeah. But no, and so people say, oh, she's ugly because of this. No, it's because sometimes there's just funky animations, is what I've noticed. And it's usually the in-game animations, not the... When we go to the CG... When we go to, like, the actual fully animated sections, I think those look really well done for her facial expressions. But the in-game... The in-engine ones are kind of funky sometimes. But that would probably be my weak point. But I give it an 8 on. So the reason 7 to 8, 7 if you're not. But if you're a Star Wars fan, this is, I think, the most like, oh, I'm living in Star Wars game we've had in a while since, say, Star Wars Galaxies, which is an MMO. So that's a little bit of a hard comparison to make. It was a sandbox MMO versus this open world Star Wars action game.
Yeah.
And so, because I felt like I was in Star Wars, and we can talk about story beats. Like, I think the most
tangentially related to that is me being having very similar reactions to characters in this game.
Yeah, anytime you were playing and you were like, yeah, you really got along with this. Was like, I said it at like while we were playing. I was like, this is probably the most Seth game to like for Star Wars because there's no real mention of the Force in the game.
Yeah.
This is the first time in Star Wars, like, major Star Wars stuff, that the Force is just not relevant.
There's only one scene that even involves the Force, and that's not what that scene is about.
And even then, they never call it directly what it is during that scene.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think it was well done with how they did that, because this game really makes you feel... The Jedi games are a power fantasy. You are a Jedi, and while, yes, they can be hard if you play on Grandmaster difficulty. Usually you can still feel pretty powerful kicking stormtroopers' asses pretty easily still.
Yeah.
This game is not
isn't
that.
You will kill a lot of stormtroopers.
And in fact, the community managed to, because on Ubisoft, you know, they have their little community things to where they do like XP. They had a community event for killing a certain number of stormtroopers, and within the first week, they killed like over like 200 million.
Holy shit!
Because that was the goal, was to get 200 million.
Fuck. Okay.
I did not. I added maybe like 300 to that, but
I do. So
Me in this setting is very fun. Like, so slight spoiler.
it's
because
not,
it's set up for the game.
Yeah, this isn't a major enough one. Is this meeting your contact, your first contact broker?
No, it's the first heist into the manor.
Okay, yeah. So this is tutorial level,
Okay.
so I'm fine with this.
Going in, Kay makes one mistake here during that mission, and it is when you meet Asara for the first time. She's like, "Oh, you guys are fucking me over," and I'm like, "No, Kay, this is not the time for that.
This is we get out and then we discuss pay
Yeah.
and issues with the heist.
We talk about the money later.
Yeah.
You don't even know what you were here to steal."
Apparently it was like whatever money's in there. I think it was the same lie that a certain somebody else gave her about what was in there.
It's like, just grab the guy and go. I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck.
But I get why, because she's
Yeah.
like, no, I'm getting paid. We are here to get me paid.
yeah, there's a couple of
And it
times-
would have been, I think that discussion would have been fine if the alarms hadn't gone off.
Yeah,
Once the alarms are going off, get out. Forget that conversation.
It's like, wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah. But,
Wrong conversation.
yeah.
Other things that I did like, just about how, like, Kay talks, speaks, and interacts with people. Like, character details that I notice. Because, like, I like to study how people fight, how they move. Kay's style is very unrefined.
Oh, yeah,
and
she's
I'm like,
sloppy. She
that
is...
makes sense.
I mean, have you seen how she punches a stormtrooper to knock him
Yeah,
out when you're
I've
stealthing?
seen it.
It's...
Don't worry. I make sure.
Yeah, it is very sloppy.
I'm like, that makes sense. You learned it from, like, bar brawling in
Yeah, Bram.
Bram's cantina. That makes sense.
Yeah, from your horrible mom who left you.
Your bitch mom.
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far. But at least negligent mom is what
Yeah.
what I would use.
So, like, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. She's not been formally taught anything. Another detail that I like is that how she has her blaster holstered, right? If you notice, like, so a lot of other characters do not have, like, a little strap on their gun to, like, keep it tied down and in place. They just have it hanging out, which can lead it to, like, falling on the floor and shit. Kay does have one, but it's never, like
It's never strapped
down. I'm like,
Yeah.
that makes sense. You're new to this. Of course, you just want it to be there so you can get to it easier.
Yep.
Also, interacting with Nyx. Good game. You can pet the axolotl.
10 out of 10 gameplay.
10 out of 10 gameplay. Now, one gripe that I do have with Kay, and I don't know if it's because of how, like, just the game works, is that I don't like how when she needs to talk to people, she has no sense of personal space at all.
I think that's a
'Cause-
gameplay issue because you have to be. I've noticed that unfortunately you have to be like this close before the talk thing comes up.
Yeah. I'm like,
So I think that might be a gameplay function, not a.
yeah, that's what I think it is. Not a, like, oh, this is... Because how I think a conversation should happen, like, the distance should be, is, like, she should be here, and the other person should be about here.
Unless
right?
they're talking about super secret stuff.
Unless they're talking about secret shit. But Kay does not seem to give a fuck.
Kay's like
Kay
this.
is here.
Yeah.
I'm like, Kay, are you going to shake them down for money? Why are you this close?
Like I said, I think that's less of a character.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Like I think that's less of a character choice and more of a gameplay decision.
Yeah.
But I do see your point on that. It's funky there.
Kayvess, master of stealth and the best liar in the galaxy. She sucks at it so much.
Things I really love. I love ND5 as a character. I love getting to know ND5. I don't know if you watch because I know you watch cutscenes. Did you watch
dialogue bits?
Did you watch
like, where you can
Jabba's Gambit stuff?
I don't.
It was like an extra content thing.
I don't think so.
Essentially it's ND5 owes money to Jabba, and so you have to do like a side thing and you get basically you get blackmail about that Governor Thornton over Toshara to pay ND5's debt off, and you learn a little bit about ND5, and I like that ND5 is a character, and you learn more and more about him, and one of the contacts that you can meet, because throughout the game you meet contacts, you meet brokers, and then you meet contacts that are experts, as they're called, which are your ability upgraders. So basically, they're the people you go to they're your trainers essentially.
Yeah.
And one of them is a commando droid.
Do you know how long it took me to recognize that ND5 is a commando droid?
Too long.
Too long. I was 2 hours into watching the cutscenes before I realized he was a commando droid.
But yeah, there's a commando droid that you can run into. That's one of your experts, and they are actually not really functioning. But ND5 uses his knowledge of having been a commando droid and serving during the Clone Wars to kind of help you try to talk to them, and basically says that you're a commander, part of like Separatist command, and you help out this droid finish its objective, even though the war's long been over.
Yeah.
Like to the point where Kay is young enough to have not been born at the time. Like Kay, he was like, "Oh yeah, you weren't affected by this war because you're too young. You're too young." And so ND5, you learn about him, and I think this is stuff I experienced after the fact of my gameplay. Like I didn't start doing all the experts really until after I finished the main story.
I see we once again have a very different place now when it comes to that.
Well, I was trying to finish the story only because I had to make sure I finished it before you could play it. Yeah. So I tried to finish the story at least. Y'all can watch my journey on playing the story because I streamed it. And then but I'm still trying to 100% the trophies, so I'm still working on some of that. You meet Lando, Lando's one of your experts. He's the other way for the third cheat system that you unlock. You get magnetic dice, so that way when you do the random card, you can just get whatever number you want.
I see.
With magnetic dice. And so I'm trying to get that one so I can then get a trophy for playing against Lando, cheating, and then winning, because there's a trophy for that. But yeah, I like ND5.
I think if I had been able to go through the side content, it would make some of the stuff later on make sense for that. But because I didn't, I just watched the cutscenes, I'm like, why do you care?
Yeah, it does feel like there's some I think also, though, we see, even without the context of more ND5, I think we get a lot of seeing that Kay tends to care more than she wants to let on. Kay tends to be like, I work alone, but in reality, she cares. She cares about her crew that she brings in, because she cares about Nyx. We see how much she cares about Nyx when a certain thing happens. Do we want to talk about that?
It's one of the scenes from the trailer, so
yeah,
the context for it is
so you have to get your heavy for the team, and so ND5 and Jalen, the guy who you're working for, and who owns Indy 5. Jalen, they're like, hey, we know about this infamous gunslinger. We need you to go hire him. He is currently locked up.
Yep.
So we have to break him out first off. And then secondly, he just owes a lot of money to the Hutts because he can't stop playing Sabak and losing.
Yep.
And so you show up to the tables because he's late to going to the ship because you're like, hey, come meet us at the ship now that we've saved you from... He was captured by Tuscans. That's what it was. Because when you first find him, he's captured by Tuscans and you have to find a Crate Dragon Pearl.
Yeah.
Which, thankfully, you don't run into the Crate Dragon during that one.
Woo.
Although, I have run into the Crate Dragon since then. Not fun.
I imagine not. Oh.
Getting eaten.
Yep.
It just comes out of the sand and go...
Oh, fuck.
But so you bring Crate Dragon Pearl, and then you're like, all right, meet us at the ship. And he's like, okay, I'll see you there. I got to finish some stuff up first. 3 days later. No. It's literally the SpongeBob meme of like 3 hours later.
Motherfucker.
He hasn't shown up. You call him, and it turns out he's at the cantinas just playing Sabak. You go there, and then he loses again as you get there. And he takes Nick. This motherfucker puts his hands on Nick's and goes, here you go.
Took my dog to pay for your bet.
And this guy works for Jabba, and he's like, okay, cool, I'll give this to Jabba, thanks. And so you have to infiltrate Jabba's palace, and then you get caught, as does Vale, the bounty hunter who's chasing you.
Oh, yeah.
Which I like Vale as a character too. I kind of figured the journey we were going on was where it would go for Vale, but although I didn't 100% guess correctly. I had guessed that Vale was going to be your heavy. Because I was like, oh, well, she's going to learn that, she's wrong about her understandings of some things because she didn't know that Slero was working with the Empire. And she learns that when you work with her for Jabba. And so I was thinking, oh, well, she's going to switch sides and become your new heavy. Nope.
No.
She does help you out at the end of the game, though. Although she should have shot that man. I don't know why.
Yeah, there's a lot of...
I guess I know why. I know why because that's a lot of heat to put on yourself.
It's the plot still has to happen.
But also because the third act is not really the third act. So but yeah, no, that guy dies. He gets what's coming to him.
Yeah.
He had it coming. He
Like,
had it coming.
God,
and then I love that scene though. I love that scene of sneaking into Jabba's because you're so... Also, that's some good voice acting from Kay's actress, by the way, at the beginning of that mission when she's like, I gotta go get Nyx, because she is like breaking down and you hear in her voice her breaking down. Like you can hear it. Because Indy 5 is like, hey, we need to get going. And she's like, not until we get Nyx. And the way she says that is so heartbreaking. And even Indy 5's like, oh, I get it.
never mind, I'll wait. I got time.
Indy 5's like, I'm a droid, but I can understand feelings. It's also one of the moments where I think that for me is when Indy 5 started to grow on me. Because Indy 5 like starts to have more humanistic traits. Because initially he serves as Jalen I work for Jalen and I'm here to make sure you don't double cross Jalen. That's it.
That's my job.
I'm your babysitter. And then eventually it becomes Indy becomes more and more part of the team.
Admittedly, one of my personal favorite moments with ND5 is like I forget when it happens, but Kay goes and is like, "What, you don't trust me?" And ND5 just kind of turns to her, and he doesn't say anything. She just walks away.
Indy 5's got a little sass to him. That's all. Just giving some bombastic side eye. That's all.
He's like the most obvious, like, of fucking course I don't trust you.
But and then I like the Rhodian member of the team that we pick up.
Yeah.
I forget his name now. All of a sudden, I'm remembering Ank. I like her. And talking to her about her husband, and
I don't mind Ankh. I'm not.
Ankh is very job oriented.
Mhm.
Is the thing. Ankh is like, I'm on a job. That's what I'm gonna focus on.
Yep.
And you gotta admire that.
Oh God, what was the other Rhodian that tried to betray us?
Oh,
Whose name I
which-
don't remember or care about.
it's Waka.
Yeah.
Because I always remember it's Waka Waka. No, it's Waka. So I clocked that he was gonna betray us like as soon as when you're on the the Imperial station, and he talks about your death mark.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's like, well, how'd you know about the death mark? And he's like, because the
It's underworld. Everyone knows.
but also, you didn't bring it up till now.
For me, I just did not give a fuck.
I mean, I didn't care about. I liked the character at first because it's like I get what his thing is. He's I love ships. I love ships so much, and that's the fact that that's his motivation for betraying you is kind of funny. It's kind of funny.
For me, I'm like, I don't even remember your name, guy.
But the I'm gonna find it.
Gadik.
Gadik, yeah, I like Gadik.
Gadik is all right.
I like Gadik as a character. Once again, he's got his little special interest. He loves his droids, and it kind of distracts him every now and then. But I like him.
Yeah.
Honestly, all the characters are kind of, for the most part, well written. I think, at least in our main cast.
Yeah.
We'll kind of get to the ending here of the game, so that way we can call it for today. Let's talk about we're gonna go big spoilers, so I'm keeping the spoiler warning up because we're gonna talk about the third act. Fuck Jalen Vrax.
Okay.
Fuck Jalen Vrax. His motivation kind of makes him. I don't know. While Sliro is also slime for betraying his family,
Mm-hmm.
Jalen sounded like he was the rich boy who never was told no growing up. He sounds like the daddy gave me $1 million for my startup company kind of kid. Are we? Am I wrong?
No, it's
Papa Vrax gave me. I worked up from the bootstraps with a $1 million loan from Daddy. A small loan of a million credits. That's Jalen Vrax in my mind. And then like his whole like, I want to take over the underworld. It's like, so you're just like your brother in this. Like you both are.
Yeah.
Because we start to learn that Sluro doesn't really care about the Imperials getting like, because his claim to Vader and to because we've alluded to it. Vader shows up.
You know what's great about Sliro's design?
The cape?
No. Like, to let you know that he's working for the Empire. If you ignore the cape with the fur, it's just one of their, like, officer get-ups without the patches on it.
Mm-hmm.
He even
It's
wears
just
the dumb little hat.
Yeah, it's just the ISB gear without his medals. And,
Yeah.
like showing his that he's command. He's director. That he's director. So it doesn't show that he's director, but it's the outfit still. But also I told you this, so I figured out the connection of them being brothers. I guess it was the midpoint of the game when that story is told.
Yeah.
Because Sliro at the start tells a story about growing up as the son of Corellia shipyard builders. and how he never was respected really, and that they didn't because he wasn't the heir.
Mhm.
And so
He tells it to Vale, and
well, he tells it to the to the other crime syndicate people before he kills them.
Yeah.
So he tells that story, and then he kills.
He will not shut up about how he got.
Yeah, and so he explains that that's why he does what he does, right? Which also we learn that he doesn't really care about the Empire. He is absolutely just trying to take over the underworld and try to make some money off of it for himself. Because that's the whole reason of why he has the blackmail in his vault, and why he's not actually reporting any rebel cells back to Vader, which is why Vader's like, "Hey, time up. We're closing this operation down." And Sliver's like, "Nah, it's working." And Vader's like, "But it's not."
He's like, you haven't found anything.
You haven't found any rebels for us.
I'm like, but
Which is funny because he literally had one prisoner, but didn't report it, I guess. Because he had Asara. Which we see Asara captured at the beginning of the game. You don't realize that connection until like the heist, the first heist goes off, right? Anyways, I figured out the connection between Jalen and Sliro because Jalen tells the same story to Kay, but from the other perspective of I lost my family to the Empire because somebody betrayed they tore our family apart, and now I'm the last member of the family, which I immediately sussed out. I was like, I think Sliro did that, and also which is why you're against him, and also that you're probably brothers because you told the same exact story. Just different points of view.
You know what my guess was as to why they were brothers? It's not about that story.
Although I always assumed it sounded like Slur was adopted. It sounds like because Slur is older. I thought so. That's why it was weird that. But maybe they are biological brothers because they never confirm one way or the other.
I think Sliro is a bastard.
Which would explain why he's older but not the heir. Because he looks old. He looks older at the very least. I can't. Once again, I don't know.
A bastard child. I mean.
Yeah.
Not,
although he
does fit the other qualification.
As does Jalen. They both are on that one.
But for me, the way that I figured they might be related, I was like, you're both wearing very stupid capes.
That's a weird choice because there's so many capes in this game.
I know.
You can wear a cape as Kay. You can wear Lando's outfit. So you can wear a stupid cape. To be fair, the stupid cape is actually pretty cool, but for the joke, I said it that way, but because I already know I'm going to be attacked for saying that. But no, I like the story at the end of the day, because while it's not the most impactful for the Star Wars overall, right? Like, it's not going to change how we view what's going on in Star Wars at the time. It's just a fun heist movie video game.
If you take it for what it is, you'll probably have a good time.
If you like, I'll end the spoiler warning here, so that way I can give my recommendation on this to everybody. If you like heist movies, and you like what comes with heist movies, you will like the plot of Star Wars Outlaws. Because it has all the tropes of a heist movie. You get the initial failed heist. You then get the let's build a crew. Because some benefactor hired us to do the heist, a new heist, to redo it again. And then you get all the betrayals and stuff that come with a heist. I will say the third act felt a little long at first, but afterwards I'm like, okay, I'm fine with it, because you do the heist in the third act, but then that's still not the end of the game. Because even after you end the heist, there's still like there's still like another hour of gameplay. Like 20 minutes probably of cutscenes. I don't know how that comes out when it's just the cutscenes, but probably like 20-30 minutes.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
I'll say the story itself is a little shorter. I'd say you could probably beat it in 10 hours, reasonably, if you do just the story. But there's still so much going on. There's so much world building. If you do the side stuff, it's not quite Witcher 3 levels of, oh, the side stories are that good, but they do add context to the world, and to where I think they're worth playing along with the main missions, which is why I did not beat the game in 10 hours.
Yep.
In fact, my first 10 hours were just on Toshara. So, I beat it around 40, I think is what I said. And so, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. Like I said, I give it about a 7 to 8, depending on if you're looking for just a game or if you're looking for a game that makes you feel like you're in Star Wars. One moment I do want to talk about. So, that one actually is a spoiler because of when it takes place. Breaking into the ISB ship to get Indy 5.
Yeah.
The most Star Wars plan of Star Wars plans. Dress up as a stormtrooper with Gadik as a prisoner.
Yep.
When that moment happened, I was like, okay, we're just Star Warsing. We are literally just doing what Star Wars would do. Because that felt right to me. That was the plan. Also, I don't know how well they did with the plan in the video you watched. Because you walk up to that Imperial and they're like, hey, where are you taking the prisoner? And you can either just start shooting then, or you can try to lie. I lied and it worked. So, I don't know if they did that with...
Oh, yeah, they lied.
Okay, yeah. So you can just... But you can also just start shooting then. Like, you can just be like, you know what, jig's up.
Damn it, it didn't work.
We got questioned once. But I liked it overall. So I am curious with the limited amount of gameplay you got, as well as seeing the story, where would you kind of place this on our scale?
I'll give it an 8.
For similar enough reasons. Yeah, like
I would have if I had more time with the game, I'd probably like it a lot.
And
more.
I wish it was on like something you could play on, but since it's only on modern day consoles like current gen and PC, the only way to play it is by using my PlayStation, or if for some reason we managed to get Drew to get it on his computer. Which, I mean, he got to watch it, and it seemed like he liked what he saw.
Yeah.
So, it is on PC. But no, the only thing that was downside is your TV's a bit older, and so there was a bit of blur. There was motion blur even when we weren't moving. And so, like, it looked bad on some of the blur, but that was because it was a TV thing. Because, like, if we put it on my TV, it doesn't have that. So, I do want to go out saying I am appreciating... Man, you are getting... I do want to go out on saying I am appreciating the positivity that this game is starting to get. It is starting to grow a fan base. And it's nice to see that despite a lot of toxic rhetoric that is in Star Wars community right now, that people are starting to learn not to always listen to it. Because, I mean... So it is nice seeing that, because I've been on Reddit a lot with this game, and because there's a dedicated subreddit. And normally I would expect Reddit to, be kind of a cesspool of, like, that toxic mentality. But it's actually been really positive. It's actually been a lot of people just screenshotting and screen grabbing some awesome moments, because there's a photo mode in the game, so a lot of people using the photo mode to just show how beautiful the game is. And just going, look how nice this is. Look, I'm at the Lars homestead watching the Twin Suns set like in Star Wars, like Luke did, and recreating that moment but with Kay. And I'm just like, oh. So it's nice to see that the fans are also tired of the toxic rhetoric, and we're kind of just ready to just have our own opinions on things and embrace stuff for what it is, like you say.
Yeah.
So it's nice seeing it even on Reddit, of all places. People are going, yeah, this game looks pretty, I'm enjoying it. And enjoying, like, the little cameos of characters here and there, because we talked about one of the big ones, but also on Tatooine you can find Boba Fett for a little bit,
Yeah.
and so it's nice.
Yeah.
But that's all I've got. Anything else you want to add before I go into our outro?
Not really.
So yeah, thank you all for watching today's episode of Escape Reality Star Wars Talk. I've been your host, Caleb. Be sure to like, comment, follow, subscribe to us. You can find us at Escape Reality Films on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, and TikTok. You can also show your support for us by joining our Patreon, which is at Escape Reality Films. Shout out to Jennifer Brantley.
Woo!
There you can watch our YouTube content before it's publicly available, including our D&D games, like the Acquisitions one I was talking about. The Grim Hollow one from last week I haven't put up yet, because we're actually ahead of schedule a little bit on that. So, that's why even taking this break, I'm like, oh, we're ahead anyways. So that episode's not up yet, but it should be this week. I think that it's going to come out on the Patreon. So yeah. Also be sure to check out our Discord, which is also linked wherever you're watching, so you can become a part of our community. You can also find me on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, at Escape Reality 94, and Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Caleb.Lockwood. Seth, speaking of D&D.
Every Sunday from 5 to 7 Central Standard Time, you can catch some friends of ours on YouTube at the Steam_Dungeon playing Trials of Naboo. I don't know what's going on over there, but there are friends. Go check them out.
Love it. Once again, thank you all for watching. Join us next week as we discuss Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy. I think we'll do a pre-recorded episode of that.
Okay.
I have spoken.
Later.